because the house is built on the brow of the hill as opposed to the top or the crown of the hill. Mr. Wright believed that if you build on top of the hill that you'd lose the hill. It was initially constructed in 1911, and it was actually modeled off of an Italian villa. A villa, if you're not aware of it, is a building where you have your residence, your business, whatever that is, and then your farm operation all under one. Initially constructed in 1911. In 1914, there was a fire at the residence that destroyed just the residential portion. It was rebuilt, and then in 1925 a second fire occurred that again destroyed the residential portion. It was rebuilt again into what we today often refer to as Taliesin 3. Mr. Wright originally kept all of his farm animals up at the residence in the farm portion of the residence. When the apprentices came here in the early 1930s, what he did is he moved the farm operation from the residence down to what's called midway barns. And you're going to be seeing midway barns here. If you look out of the left-hand side of the bus here in a moment, we're going to be driving right by them. And that became the agricultural center of the estate. We use the buildings now for storage, and it tends to be the building that is last on our list of priorities in terms of preservation efforts. But the original farm portion of the residence, when the apprentices first got here, their first assignment was to convert that former farm structure of the house into their own living quarters. And that's actually what this is today. There are actually people that live up in that former farm structure of the residence, and those people are people associated with the School of Architecture, primarily instructors and their families. It was a house he was constantly altering, constantly changing. If he would have lived longer, the house would have looked different than what it does today. He used to call this house his living laboratory. He also was not using top materials in the house, because if he did that, what it would do is he was tearing things down and changing it so much it would drive up the costs of the construction. Plus, remember that from the 1930s on, all the labor that's being done at the house is being done by the apprentices as part of their hands-on education. They are not skilled craftsmen by any sense of the term. All of that, coupled with the fact that the house is 100 years old, make the house, and I'm saying this charitably, a preservationist nightmare. And it is a preservationist nightmare. But again, remember that Mr. Wright, he did things here he would not do to a client's home. This was not a house that was meant to be perfect, and all of that actually makes our preservation efforts harder. Keep in mind, with all the cosmetic issues that you're going to see in the house, and there are a lot of them, remember that the house actually looks better now than it ever did when Frank Lloyd Wright was alive. People would come out here in the 1950s and they were shocked at the condition of the house, and that's all because he viewed it as an experimental house. This was not a house where you made it once and you made it perfect and you kept it that way. I think you have to really understand that to understand Taliesin. If you don't, then you're missing the whole point of why Taliesin was built. So this whole back portion that we're driving up onto right now, this was originally the farm portion of the building. And again, it was all converted into living space by the apprentices in the 1930s. Keep in mind also that Mr. Wright designed this building to look like it's growing out of the hill. So all the elements of organic architecture are all at play here as well. We're underneath the terrace off of his office. We're going to be walking up the steps into the breezeway of the house. We've actually got some water waiting for us up there a little bit. But notice as you walk up the steps that you are going to be walking at a diagonal. And Frank Lloyd Wright loves to make... And you're going to be manipulated again at the top of the steps, but I think you're going to get the manipulation at this point. So let's head on up and get manipulated.